Well, today I'm pleased to welcome to our program John Nothddurft. He's a director of government affairs at ISSA. And John, it's great to have you. I know you're probably kind of tired from last week. What happened last week?
Sure. Thanks, Jeff, for having me. It was a very busy week. Obviously, it was National Cleaning Week, and been seeing and keeping up with all the social media stuff going on. And then during that week, the ISSA's government affairs team was live in Washington, D.C. with approximately 60 of our members, meeting with various congressional offices, meeting with EPA, Small Business Administration as part of our Clean Advocacy Summit. So our big flying event, really trying to make sure that Capitol Hill and the administration understands the importance and the value of the cleaning industry. So yes, it was a very busy week and I'm very tired, but I will always make time for you, Jeff.
You better, John, you better. Yeah, I know we were trying to set up the time to get together for this program and you were stuck in an airport somewhere, but glad we're getting together. So you were at the summit. How was it? How did it feel? Did you get things done that you expected to happen?
Yeah, it's kind of one of those interesting things. You know, these quote, they call them fly-ins, right? So you bring all these members to DC and literally fly in. We were supposed to have the first one of these in 2020, March 2020. Not really well timed, so we had to cancel that one, obviously. And then last year we decided to do a virtual summit, which was great. We had quite a few people involved, but it's just not quite the same. So this year we were able to physically go to DC. The unique part about this was the U.S. Capitol hadn't actually been really open for 2 years, and they did a soft open the week we were there. So it was a lot of moving parts. It was exciting to get back into the Capitol and meeting face to face with elected officials and their staff. So really the bulk of it really resulted around, hey, let's get together, and let's really make the voice of the cleaning industry heard, because, it's still very important. It was important before the pandemic, and it's more important now to really educate policymakers and regulators on the importance of cleaning, disinfecting, hand hygiene, all the things that we all understand and do. And so it was very exciting. I would say in that respect, we were successful.
So those people you were talking to, those politicians, those leaders, did they learn anything? What's going to happen from this?
I think it's twofold, right? When you're having a conversation, especially with regulators and lawmakers, it's a two-way conversation, right? And so we heard back. We had one good instance of this. We actually gave 2 awards to elected officials. One was to Stephanie Murphy, a Democrat from Florida, and one to Tom Rice, a Republican from South Carolina. And when we met with Stephanie Murphy, actually, and presented her with the award, she actually gave the story about how her parents worked at nights cleaning office buildings. And now, and she said she's accredited her becoming a congresswoman and being able to do that with her parents being in the cleaning industry, and how she has a soft spot. And it kind of goes to show you, I did not actually know that story. And she was the supporter and lead sponsor on her Healthy Workplaces tax credit bill. So it's just kind of one of those things where it's kind of a two-way story. In terms of Tom Rice, when we presented him the award, he actually kind of turned it back to us and saying, hey, you are the unsung heroes. You're right, all the essential workers. So a lot of those conversations you have, you just don't realize how almost everyone has a story that gets back to whether it's the cleaning industry directly or their appreciation. Congressman Rice represents Myrtle Beach, so a very much a hospitality and travel industry. And he said, we could not have gotten back safely without the essential cleaning industry. So it's those types of conversations that we had. And then obviously we got into specific policies and pieces of legislation. But I think sometimes it's really about just making those connections and understanding these businesses in their districts and how they impact people's lives.
Yeah, that's interesting. We're never too far away from cleaning, no matter who we are, and some have roots in it. Also, you had some awards, Advocates of the Year. Talk about that.
We also, as in addition to those two awards I mentioned, we also give our Advocates of the Year award. So this is the second year we've done this. We give it to a manufacturer distributor, and that went to Jim Purcell, who's CEO of Products Chemical. And then we also give one to an end user. So this year we gave one to Trisha Holderman from Elite Facility Services. And both of those have been great advocates. Every time I've asked, hey, I need some help with something, I need you to contact your elected official, this or that, they've always been there to spread the word and get some of those, some of their colleagues involved. And I think that's really what takes folks from, hey, it's one thing to call an elected official or engage in the process yourself, but when you start recruiting other people for us, it really shows kind of this next level of advocacy. The interesting thing about Trisha is she actually, and I don't know how this happened, but we actually got a video from Senator John Cornyn from Texas that actually was directed to her and thanked her for all her service. So we played that during the summit. She was surprised. She wasn't expecting it. So it's pretty interesting how even, this U.S. Senator acknowledged the role and the importance Trisha and other advocates play. So that was a pretty cool surprise.
That is cool. Was that the proclamation I've heard about?
No, that was just he knew that she was winning an award for Advocate of the Clean and wanted, as a fellow Texan, because they're very proud of their state. If you ever meet someone from Texas, he did a quick video, a 30-second video congratulating her on that award. Yeah. Okay.
So you have the two awards for Advocates for Clean. Do you want any more of those advocates, or do you have enough?
You can never have too many. I mean, I think right now, officially, we have about 1,250 folks who have said, you know what, it's free. I'm gonna commit to being an advocate. They've taken action. They've contacted their elected official. We have more than 10,000 members. There's millions of employees in all these industries. We need as many of the advocates as possible. It's really a show of force. We had about 60 folks attend our Clean Advocacy Summit. I'd love to get 100 next year, right? Because all these voices really show an impact, and you can see members of Congress and their staff's eyes kind of light up and understand, okay, you're in my district. I understand. I'm putting a face to a name. You're not just a company that makes a cleaning wipes or whatever it may be. They're able to connect those dots and bring it back home. So we need as many folks to sign up to be Advocates for Clean as possible.
Okay, well, there's our pitch. We'll see what happens with that. But, when people think of Washington, going there and trying to get things done, what was that like? Were you in private meeting rooms? Did you have a huge audience? You were talking about the networking.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. So we kind of set up shop or right off Capitol Hill at the Hyatt, which is a GVAC Star facility. And originally, because the Capitol was closed, we were going to have to bring members of Congress and their staff to us because we couldn't get into the Capitol. Luckily, it opened up, so we were able to go to them. But we did have 4 members of Congress come and talk to us. We also went to the Hill, and we had to be escorted. In the good old days, you'd be able to just go and walk from office to office. But it's pretty interesting because you walk into some of the House of Representatives offices, and they're cramped. They're smaller than like some studio apartments. So I think some of our members were surprised at how small the offices were. But it was really cool to see. We met with, I think, 10 different members of Congress and then probably 30 other congressional staff. And if you know anything about DC, it's actually the staff that make the policy. So they're the ones actually working on the legislation. Oftentimes you'll be meeting with a member of Congress and then you'll look over to a staffer and say, what's our position on that bill, right? They don't necessarily know because, you have to understand, they're probably voting on thousands of pieces of legislation. So, staff make policy, and we had a lot of good relationships and meetings there as well. So it was a great mix. And I think for probably 90% of the folks who were there, it was the first time on Capitol Hill meeting with their elected officials. So it was a lot of newbies, but we were able to train them and get them educated. And they were all naturals. I mean, our industry are natural, whether it's sales, just kind of educating, talking about the importance of clean. So it really wasn't much of a learning curve. We just had to make sure they got to the right offices.
Boy, I wish I had been invited to this thing.
Maybe next year, Jeff. Maybe next year.
There you go. So that's my invitation, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Lastly, I want to talk about this. Government affairs, you're the director of government affairs at ISSA. Obviously, you know what you're doing. How is the state of government affairs, in your opinion, with cleaning? Are things good, getting better? Are they excellent? Do we have more work to do?
There's always more work to do. I kind of joked that prior to 2020, the industry as a whole was kind of in the minds of elected officials, kind of an afterthought. We weren't a focus. 2020 really kind of raised a lot of attention for the industry, both good and bad, right? So we saw regulators come in and make sure, they're starting to say, hey, what does proper cleaning, disinfecting, hand hygiene look? And we were finally brought into the fold, right? We had a seat at the table. I would say we're trying to build on that and build that momentum so that, as we move throughout past this pandemic, that we're relied upon for information about best practices and what to do. So I would say there's still a lot to be done. One of the pitches that we made to them was, hey, moving forward, whether it's, as we move hopefully beyond this pandemic, there still needs to be investments in healthy and safe workplaces. And a lot of businesses, especially small businesses coming out of this, the economic turmoil that was caused by this, don't necessarily have the resources to really invest how we believe they should in these sort of spaces. So that was one of our asks, saying, hey, even if COVID's behind us, there's still flu, there's still cold, there could be hopefully not, but there could be another pathogen coming in the future. So we really need to make sure that these businesses can invest in the right protocols, in the right machinery, the right products, the right services to make sure that, both workers and customers who come into these buildings are healthy and safe. So that was really kind of our big takeaway. That's what we were trying to educate members on. Make sure that you remember the cleaning industry when you're making various laws and regulations.
Yeah, we hope no one forgets how important this industry is. But thank you, John, for your time today.